Doctor, a concern of many people today is the acidity. We can see there are many products on the market for what people believe to be excess acid. Are there ways that Ayurveda looks at that and might provide something to support a healthy pH level?
Absolutely, and pH is really crucial. You know, the blood has a specific level that it has to operate in. The blood pH has to be between 7.35 and 7.45.
Quite alkaline.
Yes, or else it's incompatible with life. And the body will do anything it can to maintain that. If the blood pH falls towards the acid side, the body pulls calcium out of the bone to buffer the acid in the blood. And if that's done repeatedly over years due to acid diet, we lose bone mass, predisposing towards osteoporosis. There are some soft drinks. Everything in them causes the body to pull calcium out of the bone, creating osteoporosis. The pH varies in the body, typically between 7.2 to 7.7. Of course, the stomach is going to have a very acid pH because you need the acid pH to digest the food, but then it gets buffered in the duodenum to become more alkaline. So pH is essential.
So how would we address trying to balance the pH to maintain a healthy level of pH within the blood through the practice of Ayurveda?
Coral calcium is a product that's used here in the United States, and they extract the root and the branches from it, and it has an alkalinizing effect. Also, like oyster shells and things of that nature, very alkalinizing. The difficulty is in being able to assimilate those. And Ayurveda has a long, rich tradition of processing these substances, coral calcium and seashells, in such a way to make them bioavailable. One such process using coral calcium is they process it for many days before and after the full moon when there's more soma, cooling, nurturing energy coming from the moon that helps the body move more alkaline. This coral calcium is processed with rose water that also facilitates that same alkaline response, and they do it over the full moon to allow no sunlight, which is heating, which is going to be more acidifying. And then that's taken in, and it's assimilated extremely well by the body and has a wonderful alkalinizing effect. There's another product, Laghu Sooth Shaker, which is basically a type of Ayurvedic prepared ginger. It's dry ginger and it's processed with cinnamon, black pepper, and long pepper. And this also helps with the assimilation of these mineral-rich shells from the ocean. One of the most used over-the-counter medications are antacids.
Yes.
So in the traditional Western perspective, if someone has heartburn, you go to the drugstore and you take a calcium supplement, which decreases the acid in the stomach and alkalinizes it, reduces the heartburn. Unfortunately, from about the age of 40 on, most individuals have diminished hydrochloric acid, and they're not digesting their food, which is creating gas and bloating, pushing the contents up, creating heartburn. So you actually need things to improve the digestive acids. So you don't want to take anything that's alkalinizing to the stomach acids when there's food in the stomach. You want to allow the stomach, you want to enhance that process with specific spices to enable the digestive system to process that food. And then later, a couple hours after eating or even before going to bed on an empty stomach, which would be ideal, take these alkalizing substances which go through the entire system and help the body become more alkaline.
It is interesting that oftentimes people misperceive what the problem is when they feel uncomfortable with and blame it on stomach acid indigestion. Often, as you just described, it's just the opposite.
The cause is the opposite. It does produce acid, it does produce heartburn, but the cause of it is because we're not digesting the food, because we don't have the enzymes, we don't have the hydrochloric acid, we don't have the pancreatic acid, because they become depleted over time as we age. And so the food just sits there and it putrefies. It's not digested properly. It sits there for a long time, and then it backs up. And that creates what we call acid, indigestion. The key to that is eating wisely, not overeating, not having improper combinations of food, and cook from an Ayurvedic perspective, cook with spices. The Western naturopathic approach, they supplement with enzymes and with hydrochloric acid. But our system is kind of it's built on a negative feedback system. If we take in enzymes and hydrochloric acid, the body shuts down its production because it recognizes, oh, you don't need it because it's already there. Over time, those abilities of the body tend to atrophy. Short term, it gives those systems a rest. Long term, they tend to atrophy and they're not used. The Ayurveda recommendation is to spice the food properly, to stimulate the body to produce its own enzymes, because the body knows what enzymes it needs for what food at what time. It knows what percentage, what amount of hydrochloric acid, pancreatin, pepsin it needs to digest the food that's in the stomach at the time. If you take an outside source, it's just already pre-made in the lab, and it may be different from what the body's intelligence is wanting at that specific time. This is the value of taking spices cooked in food, so those chemical constituents in the spice are cooked in the food. Some are water soluble, some are oil soluble, and the body recognizes them and they stimulate the body to produce the specific chemicals it needs at that time to digest those foods, so we digest our food. Because if you're not digesting a food, you're not going to get the nutrients out of the food. You can have the best diet. If you're not digesting it, you become malnourished.
Okay. With something like we've been discussing, a combination of herbs to help support pH level, is this something that you would take on a daily basis, do you think?
Some Ayurvedic herbs are used to treat specific imbalances that come up. Others can be used on a daily basis because we eat on a daily basis. And hopefully we're eating regularly. We have a light breakfast, a significant lunch, and then a lighter, earlier dinner. The body functions best when it knows exactly when it's getting food, because if you go for long periods of time, the body moves into stress mode. It's functioning on stress hormones, lowers the pH. It's important that we eat regularly and that these spices and supplements are taken with the food to enhance that, because that's when we need it. So these are substances that can be taken on a long-term basis. A specific one, amalaki, basically Indian gooseberry, and this is a substance that it detoxifies the system mildly. It also builds and nurtures the system. It helps in muscle development and a creation of healthy muscle tissue. And it also helps digestion, but it's not heating. It actually is specific for pitta. It has a cooling effect, but it actually helps digestion at the same time. So amalaki is actually not an herb. It's a fruit, Indian gooseberry. This is good to take on a regular basis. Absolutely.
Thank you, Doctor.
Welcome.